For me right now it is the 28th of December 2024. To me it feels like it should be the 28th of December 2023. It does not seem like a whole year has passed in any way, shape or form. But for this video we are just going to go through my 2024 transition recap essentially. And I can't guarantee that this will be exactly how it will happen for you or for any other trans person, but this is just what it has been like for me and my individual case of medically transitioning. My referral to the adult transgender clinic was made in 2018, September 2023. I got a phone call from Trans Plus, and Trans Plus was a thing I'd never heard of before, wasn't at all aware of. But they phoned me saying that I had been on the waiting list for a long time, and I was one of the ones that had been waiting like the longest amount of time, according to them. I can't guarantee how true that is, because to me waiting 5 years is like the minimum amount of time. To me waiting a long time is 10 years. So to me, I feel like there are people that were on that waiting list that had been waiting more than what I had. I'm certainly 100% grateful that they phoned me and picked me out of the list from whatever trans clinic that I've been referred to, because the whole time of waiting from 2018 to 2023, I had no idea which clinic my GP had referred me to. I had repeatedly asked them to tell me which place I had been referred to, but they just didn't tell me. And my GP is just completely useless, not just because of me being trans, but for a whole load of very common, simple things just everyone has that they can't even get that right at all. The phone call that Trans Plus made to me was the 23rd of September 2023. So for me, my medical transition sort of started the end of September 2023. So that's why I'm sort of including it in here, and just so for anybody who doesn't know or doesn't remember, if you've seen my videos before or if you haven't seen my videos before, this just gives you a complete time frame of my medical transition so far. So the 23rd of September 2023 was when I got the phone call, and they asked me a series of questions and all that kind of stuff. I can't remember specifically what the questions were, but they were sort of generalised questions. And then, was I wanting to have Trans Plus take over my care from whatever place I was referred to originally, and I said yes, and I asked them how long would I have to wait, and unfortunately at that time they couldn't give me an exact time. The only thing that they could really say is that potentially they could see me quicker than whatever place I was referred to. I now know that the adult trans clinic that I was referred to was Tavistock. I had no idea that they had a gender dysphoria service for adults there. I just thought it was for kids, and then the whole thing about it being closed down and them stopping it, I wasn't sure if it was for children or adults. So I was like, the whole time during the whole Tavistock situation, I genuinely didn't know that that's where I'd been referred to. But then I was like, in my head, that's probably where I was referred to, and that I'm just never going to be able to transition medically. So I'm 10 times so grateful that Trans Plus phoned me. Just adds into why I accepted them straight away taking over my care, because I didn't know what place I was going to originally anyway. I heard all this stuff about Tavistock, and that I didn't even know if they did adults at all, and then I just didn't know what to do or where I was or anything like that, because I'm not in a position to be able to afford or pay for private healthcare. So I was just incredibly desperate for many reasons, basically. My referral was 2018. I got that phone call September 2023, and they couldn't give me a time scale of when my first appointment would be. They didn't know, so they couldn't give me those details straight away. But surprisingly enough, all I had to do was wait until the 16th of November, which was when I had my very first appointment at Trans Plus. It was about 2 hours in length. I was there with a nurse who went through like a whole health assessment, basically doing height, weight, BMI, general health, and a whole load of series of questions, and then blood tests and all of that kind of stuff. So we did all of that. I was incredibly nervous and anxious because I had no real idea what they wanted from me or what it was that they were going to do, because the last time I did something like this I was 11, 12 years old. And then the 16th of December 2023 was the first appointment I had with the gender specialist doctor, and that was also another 2 hours with the doctor, and it was kind of like the first appointment, but it went into so much more detail and all that kind of stuff. And it was not exactly the easiest thing to talk about, but the thing is, you need to have these kinds of conversations to work out what exactly is happening and what exactly is going on. So it is seriously worth it, and you need to do it to get to the truth, because what you might be feeling might not actually be gender dysphoria. Thankfully for me, it is gender dysphoria. And that appointment, the 15th of December, was when the doctor gave me my gender dysphoria diagnosis, and she gave me my first prescription of testosterone gel. That's what it looks like there. And they give you the gel first because it's easier, less harsher on the body, and it helps the body like adapt to it easier, and that is why they do it first. And then if you want to go on to the injections after a certain period of time, then they're not going to stop you doing that if you wish to choose to do that, which is something that I want to do at some point. I've been on the gel for a year now. It's just not something that I personally want to do going forward, so for me the injections is the next step. And then the next appointment was the 31st of January, which was a Zoom call. This appointment was supposed to be the 14th of February 2024, but the doctor wasn't available that day, so she rescheduled it for January the 31st, 2024, which was the first appointment for 2024 for me. And that was a whole Zoom meeting about my chest dysphoria, my gender dysphoria in general, but it was like my whole top surgery consultation basically. And then she was just asking me about what I like and dislike about my chest, what I would actually want to happen if I could have it magically done right this instant, and that sort of stuff. And then she talked through the options for top surgery and the two different places that they deal with. One was in Plymouth, the other one was in Wimbledon, London. And I initially said Plymouth because it's not London. I thought it would be cheaper and easier to get to, but it really is not cheaper and easier to get to from where I live in Reading. So I am going to have it done in the Nuffield in Wimbledon. I'm getting ahead of myself, so we'll get to that bit eventually. So the 31st of January was my top surgery consultation. The doctor did it, went through all the options, did the paperwork, and it went through, and then I got confirmation later on of it. And then the 14th of February 2024 was my first 3-month blood test, which is what you do to see how well or how high or how low your hormone levels are, and to see if you're adapting to testosterone, and to see how you are basically also in the appointment. Things you like, things you dislike, things you notice that have changed since the last 3 months. But the first 3 months on gel, I doubt you're really going to notice very much, in my opinion. And they did that, and then everything was fine. I met one of the nurses, he was really nice. And that nurse was different to the one that I had in November, different person. Now we come to May 2024, and I had my next 3-month appointment, 14th of May 2024. And again, it was the same sort of thing. Did a blood test to check my levels, asked me questions about things I've noticed changing in the last 3 months. Am I happy with it? Am I satisfied with it? Am I not happy with it? Am I not satisfied with it? What changes I would like to see happen in the next 3 months? What changes I would have liked to have happened in the previous 3 months, and that sort of stuff. And that is just generally the idea of the blood tests or the 3-month appointments, is to get that sort of information basically. And I know that it is just a waiting game for the changes to happen, especially on gel. Gel takes longer than the injections, but the injections is more harsher on the body than the gel, so there's that to bear in mind. And then we have August the 21st 2024, which was my next 3-month blood test. Same thing as before, nothing real different at all. By this time I was still waiting for the referral to go through from my top surgery consultation in January. Even now, a year later, I haven't heard of anything about bottom surgery or anything like that. That is something that I haven't even started to talk about with any of the people at Trans Plus. November 2024 was my next blood test. Again, the same thing, blood test, questions about am I happy with the testosterone, Am I happy with the gel? Changes I've noticed in the past few months, changes I like to see in the next 3 months. But then also in November the 26th, 2024, I had my first appointment with Parkside Nuffield in Wimbledon, which is where I'm going to have my top surgery. I had that appointment. You can go and watch the video on my channel and make sure you subscribe to when I have top surgery and then for whatever other stuff that happens in my life. That was my gender transition recap, basically. It's been fun and hopefully I don't get to stop doing it and going to London. That should give you a rough idea of potentially what to expect in your own transition, or if you're watching this to get information in general, this is just what has happened for me. But if you're a parent or a friend of a trans person, then hopefully this gives you some sort of insight into what happens with trans people. And again, this is just what happened with me and me only. I can't guarantee that this exact time frame or scale or appointments will happen the exact same way as someone else. It was tough and it was difficult, and it will be for anyone else going through this. It's not easy in any way.